Biggest news overnight, the ceasefire deal in the Middle East. First, just tell me your reaction to everything that developed really in the past couple of hours here.
Well, certainly it's a huge positive in the short term. I mean, just the end of the war. I mean, the suffering in Gaza has been horrific, and there is a long, long way to go from here. But just stopping the war is a huge positive, and the return of the hostages. We saw images this morning of the hostages being reunited with their families. I mean, that's just an incredible relief on both those fronts. So that's number one. Number two is there is a long way to go. Much work needs to be done to make sure this peace is sustainable and to make sure that there's some kind of future built for the Palestinian people and security is actually brought to the region.
You talk about there being a long way to go and some work that needs to be done. Does some of that work need to be done by the United States?
Absolutely. I mean, it's four basic things that are going to be the biggest challenges here. Number one, the U.S. and President Trump have to stay engaged. Certainly it's good that he got involved in the last month or two, made a difference, but it can't stop now. He has to keep the pressure up on all the players in the region. Number two, Prime Minister Netanyahu has to allow for a Palestinian alternative to Hamas to grow up and prosper, something he has not done for 15 years. If it's not going to be Hamas, and it can't be Hamas, it has to be somebody. Number three, Hamas has to be kept down and out. And lastly, the key to all of this is the Arab states actually following through on their promises to help Gaza rebuild, to help Gaza achieve security, and to stay engaged in making sure that Hamas is gone, out, and replaced with a reasonable alternative.
How critical do you think the summit in Egypt is today?
It's a really important first step for all of those issues. Now, I mean, the big challenge is going to be getting Prime Minister Netanyahu back working with Jordan, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, the partners who are going to be crucial moving forward. Because I've been to the region several times since the war began. People like King Abdullah, MBS in Saudi Arabia, MBZ in UAE, they are deeply distrustful of Netanyahu at this point. So that's going to have to be a relationship that's rebuilt so that they can work together to ensure peace in the region.
You've been calling for a ceasefire for months now. Are you optimistic that this is truly the end?
Optimistic, that's a hard word to use in that part of the world. I would say cautiously optimistic that the war has finally come to an end, yes.
And then, we're just talking about some of the destruction that was done. It's estimated that 92% of Gaza is destroyed and rubble now. A lot of rebuilding to do, like you talked about. Are you confident that the aid will go far enough?
I wouldn't say I'm confident. I would say people have to be skeptical and really work at it. There is so much work that needs to be done to help the Palestinian people rebuild in Gaza. And also, we cannot completely separate the challenges in the West Bank from this conversation. Israel is also going to have to allow a legitimate Palestinian government to take hold in the West Bank going forward. That, too, is going to be a major issue.
You talked a bit about what the executive branch has to do. What do you think Congress needs to get done in order to ensure that this peace deal carries on?
Well, mostly now it's a matter of supporting the executive branch and supporting the peace agreement. This is primarily going to be an executive level negotiation. I don't think there is a huge role for Congress other than to be supportive of a peace process going forward.
Want to turn now to the government shutdown. Today is the 13th day, about to enter the third week of this shutdown. As we know, no votes will be taken today. Are you frustrated by this?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really frustrating process because Speaker Johnson has basically dissolved the United States House of Representatives, which is unprecedented. I've been through several shutdowns in my career. Every time we've had a shutdown, Congress has been in session, voting on legislation, working, negotiating to try to resolve it. Speaker Johnson has simply decided that the House is not going to do anything. That they're going to force the Senate to accept a partisan Republican budget proposal without anything in the way of negotiations. And look, this has been a very partisan budget process throughout Trump's presidency on a whole series of levels. The way he has run the federal government has been incredibly aggressive, incredibly partisan. And if they had the votes for that, Well, okay, then I guess that's democracy. I don't like it, but they can vote for it. But now they're telling Democrats that we have to vote for Trump's budget and Trump's government. I mean a government where President Trump thinks he doesn't have to spend the money that Congress tells him to spend. Why are we going to vote for a budget and then just have Trump say, no money for the Democratic states, which he's done over and over again, which is unbelievable that a president of the United States would make it so clear that he's running the government for himself and his partisan interests and not for the benefit of the country. Something has to be changed in that process to get Democratic votes. And right now, Trump and Johnson are saying, no, you have to vote for what we want. And Democrats don't have to vote for that. So I am frustrated about their unwillingness to negotiate.
Tens of thousands of federal workers are furloughed, being laid off without pay right now. At what point do party politics need to be put aside to truly negotiate a budget bill?
I hate that question. It's not party politics. I mean, that's such, and I'm not blaming, everyone says that. We're talking about substantive issues here. Millions of people are going to lose their health care. The cost of health care is going to go up dramatically for everybody if we don't do something about the cuts to Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Millions of people are losing food assistance because of this budget. So this is impacting real people's lives. Energy costs are going up because Donald Trump is canceling energy projects out of revenge against Democratic states. He's canceling transportation projects. This is not party politics. These are substantive policy issues that dramatically impact the lives of tens of millions of people in this country. So we're not doing this for party politics. We're doing this for the substantive issues that matter to our constituents.
Suppose I'll rephrase here and rather ask you, what's your message to those federal workers who are kind of getting the short end of the stick as the fight goes on for these issues?
Well, I can tell you what the federal workers' message has been to me. Don't back down. Because remember, Trump has been terrorizing federal workers for 9 months now. He's fired hundreds of thousands of workers. He's frozen billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in programs unilaterally. And federal workers have also had this experience where Trump has fired them, then there have been lawsuits saying, no, that's illegal. He's hired them back, and then he's fired them again. I talked to one federal worker who had that happen, fired, was gone for a while, and said, okay, you're welcome to come back, came back, fired again, brought back, but then couldn't get her health care benefits turned back on. So the message I'm hearing from federal workers is stand up for us. Because Trump has been doing this to federal workers from the day he got into office in a way that is illegal, unacceptable, and is weakening this country. So I am mindful of the impact on federal workers, on the American people, on services that will begin to be restricted. But we cannot continue to allow President Trump to run the presidency the way he has, because it is contrary to the interests, I believe, of my constituents and of the American people in general.
I want to ask you about something President Trump said, I believe, last week after signing a bill in 2019, as you know, to guarantee back pay for federal workers after a government shutdown. He's now saying not everyone is going to receive that back pay. How do you respond to Trump saying something like that?
2 ways. Number one, the law says they get paid. And this is a great example of Donald Trump thinking that the law simply doesn't apply to him. And it sort of brings into stark relief what this fight is about. It's not party politics, it's not partisanship. It's about the constitutional republic that we live in. Are we going to continue to live in a nation that is a constitutional republic, a nation of laws, or are we going to live in a nation that is run by Donald Trump and by whatever he wants to do, where he doesn't have to pay attention to the law? I mean, he has been clear in how partisan he has approached these issues. And then, so the budget stuff is one thing, but then the way he's using his federal government, using the Justice Department to specifically target his political adversaries, using various different commissions to target the media, to try to silence anyone who would dare criticize him. Again, using the Justice Department to file lawsuits against law firms and universities that are working with Democrats, are running programs that he doesn't like. That is not the way this country should be run, and it has dire negative consequences for all of us. So all manner of different things President Trump has said and made it so clear why we cannot simply salute and vote for the budget that he wants us to vote for.
I've talked with a couple state lawmakers about H.R. 1 and the impacts that might have in Washington once that goes into effect, specifically on Medicaid and food assistance programs. They're worried that the state won't fully be able to pick up the costs of those programs once H.R. 1 is fully in effect. What's your message to those lawmakers?
Well, of course we won't be able to pick up those costs. The state of Washington has been really dedicated to providing health care and food assistance to our citizens already. All right, if there was more they could have done, they would be doing it. So just saying, okay, we're going to cut, and I don't know what the numbers are, $1 billion out of program, state, you pick it up. Well, they don't have the resources. And just to give you a really clear number on this, before the Affordable Care Act and before efforts to enhance Medicaid, we had about 12% of the population uninsured. We brought that down to 4%, and that makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference certainly for those people covered, but it also means that our healthcare providers do not have to provide so much uncompensated care. And when they provide uncompensated care, the prices go up for everybody else. If Trump's budget goes through, we go right back to 12%, and costs on healthcare go up for everybody. You could say, well, I've got health insurance, I'm fine, doesn't affect me. It does, because your costs will go up to make up for all the care that's being given to people who no longer have insurance.
And then I also want to ask about Trump's deployment of the National Guard to various cities. As you know, the mayor of Seattle signed 2 executive orders to prepare for that. Do you think it's necessary for the National Guard to be sent to Seattle at any point?
No, it is 100% not necessary for the National Guard to be sent to Los Angeles or Portland or Chicago. And the lawsuits, federal judges have said that. Look, Trump is trying to once again exercise power over the federal government. This has a lot more to do with that than it has to do with crime. So the National Guard has no role to play right now. But I do want to be clear that here in King County and in many other places across the country, we need to do a better job of dealing with crime. The lack of accountability, there was actually an excellent op-ed by Lauren Davis, state rep, about the laws that have been passed in this state that have caused juvenile crime to skyrocket. We need to make changes, but that's not about the National Guard. And Donald Trump is doing this to use the United States military for domestic law enforcement, which it very specifically is not supposed to do. This is a consolidation of power in the executive that is a threat to the liberty of all Americans.
Are you encouraging state leaders in your party to take steps to reduce crime by passing those types of laws?
Oh, yes, every day for several years, and a lot of them are not necessarily happy with me for that. But I simply don't agree with the idea that individuals shouldn't be held responsible for the crimes they commit. I don't see why we can't hold 2 thoughts in our head. Number one, we need to help people. If people are committing crime, one aspect of it is, what are their circumstances? Is there more we can do to build stronger communities and help support people? That absolutely has to be part of it. That's one. But 2, no matter what, you are responsible for the choices you make. And if we adopt policies that imply that you're not, you're going to have a devil of a time fixing the problem. So yes, I have regularly spoken on the county, state, city level. What can we do to improve our criminal justice system?
And I want to go back to the shutdown real quick. A question we get a lot of right now is there an end in sight? From where you stand, is there an end in sight?
There's not an end in sight at this point. There's a clear way this ends. It ends when Speaker Johnson agrees to negotiate with the Democrats in the Senate whose votes he needs. I'm going back tomorrow. I know most Democrats are coming back this week. We're going to do that. I've reached out directly to Speaker Johnson. I've spoken to him personally about it. That's where it starts. We have to have a conversation because, again, remember, Donald Trump has taken the position he can spend the money however he wants to spend the money, regardless of what Congress says. We can't vote for that budget. So there has to be something in there that gives us some guarantees on how that's going to be handled. The end is when we do what Congress is supposed to do. The end, ironically, in my view, is politics. Politics is how you negotiate your differences. How do you resolve your differences through negotiation and a conversation? Right now, we're choosing conflict instead of politics and saying we're not going to talk. That has to change.
Resolving this government shutdown set aside, what are some of your priorities in the last couple months of the year?
I guess my biggest priority, well, I think the priorities focus around that. Trying to put a block to Trump's efforts to undermine our Constitution and the laws of this country. trying to get back to the point where the federal government works according to the law and according to the best interests of the American people. And I think this, budget battle really brings into stark relief exactly what that fight is about. And it impacts healthcare, it impacts food security, but it also impacts transportation and energy. Impacts our communities in terms of what's going on with ICE and some of the raids that have been happening that have been terrorizing our communities. So those are my priorities. I guess top of the list is healthcare. Healthcare has such a profound impact. If we can do something to stop all of these people being driven off of healthcare and costs being driven up, I think that's our most important priority right now.
Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything I didn't ask about that you wanted to mention this morning?
No, I think you covered it quite well. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you so much.